happy, munapelekwa kwa mtu moja, now umeenda happy. So, you know, those stories, and there's a lot of kids from that era who can speak to that and say, yeah, we used to go to this is here. We knew our paros were going to whatever, you know, Omega 1, Fankatek, you know, those sorts of things. You know.
July was in full effect. We had all the Fridays covered, and there's that audio from Adis that we're gonna be playing shortly. Uno, I don't know whether you have it ready.
Yes, I'll actually play both of them.
Okay,
and there's a reason.
Yes.
I'll play both.
Yes. So in the month of July, we hosted Emily Karanja, the talk on investment, real estate in Kenya versus real estate in the US, and just some bad habits that immigrants have when it comes, some bad habits that we carry from back home in finances and bring them here, then they tend not to work here in the US, and also about financial education. There was also the same month, the 14th of July, there was a lot of maandamano. You know, there were 9 deaths, you know, like in the maandamanos that happened in the month of July. There was an accusation of economic sabotage by Azimio, and then the diasporans were also chiming in on what was happening back home, and we're having a conversation on whether our voice has any effect on what happens back home. And then we also had death abroad, and then we're going to talk about that after we talk about that, the topic that these audios have. But we talked about death abroad. We had Alan Kiguru Kimani coming on the 21st, chair for MDKO. Talked about fundraisers, you know, for deaths, death insurance, and then there was also we talked with him about the Kenya Kwanza cost of living protest. We're gonna talk about that. And then there was Deborah Auko, yeah, Deborah Auko, author of Rough Silk, the 28th of July. Very amazing episode where she was talking about her book, you know, that was talking about death, single fatherhood, taboos in society, early marriage, polygamy, divorce, breeding culture in Kenya. Let's just hear what...
And Rumba.
Yes, and Rumba and Siasa was a very interesting book. Let's hear what Adis had to say. And this is interesting because Adis has not even had a chance to read the book yet. But let's hear what she had to say about the episode. Okay. Just one moment.
Bluetooth imejizima.
Imejizima, okay. Aya. Okay, there we go. Let's hear what Adis had to say. This is about Rough Silk by... What's her name again?
Deborah.
Deborah. What's the other name?
Auko.
Auko. How did I say it at the beginning?
Auko.
Auko. Okay.
Allah.
Okay.
This guy
going once,
he
going
doesn't
twice.
He doesn't know how to press Bluetooth.
Mtawacha ujinga.
And he's supposed to be on a plane to go to Kenya.
Okay.
How is he gonna listen to music? And he didn't know how to use Bluetooth.
Sorry.
Okay, there we go.
Are you ready now?
Yes, we are ready.
Mother soccer.
The interview with the lady who wrote Rough Silk and talked about kind of a biography of her and her relationship with her dad. That brought back so many memories for me. I could totally relate from the moment she began that book to the end of it. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten a copy of it, but it's something I have on my to-do list. And I think you guys forgot also the interview about fertility. So those two are the main highlights for me. I really was able to relate all of those to not just myself, but people around me. And when I say people around me, I mean family, friends, and very close people that have had similar experience. But Rough Silk for me took me down memory lane. My father is deceased, but from his love to from for Franco, for soccer. My dad played for Reunion. I don't know if people know that. He was a broadcaster. He loved Gor Mahia. He was very political and oh my God, so many different things. So I do appreciate that interview. I wish there could be a redo of it because I think she did have a lot more to say, but there was not enough time on the show. So I appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, if you celebrate any, and looking forward to next year. Were amazing. I liked even Brittany. I liked the what's her name, the recruiter. You really had great topics this year, but Rough Silk for me, it was almost like a homegoing or kind of a reckoning with actually what was my true story or part of my true story. I've never, put it out there, but my dad was my rock, and everything that Rough Silk had to talk about, oh my God. Yeah, y'all just didn't meet my dad. Anyway. I should add that a lot of Luo girls born in the 70s, raised in the 80s and grew up in the 90s can totally relate to Rough Silk. Maybe they just didn't come on the show, but trust me, if you had to do some research, people born or raised by that generation of men, and I say people when I mean really Luo, young Luo girls and even Luo men raised by that generation of Luo men, oh my God, maybe at that point you really truly understand the true love that they have for Raila Amolo Odinga. Oriti.
Okay, that was this. I don't know whether she's tuned in today, but yeah, this episode had that impact on her, yet she has not even read the book.
Maybe she doesn't even know what the cover looks like.
Yeah, she hasn't read the book, which is one of those things that I really love when I hear that an episode, she's talking like someone who, like actually read the book. Like to me, I got very shocked when she got to that point where she said she's actually not read the book. But to me, that episode was, I would say, it was one of the most effective episodes in as far as making people take action, because people bought that book.
Yes.
Like I know
Yeah,
people
that-
who are tuned in right now.
Yes.
Please comment and tell us if you bought that
A
book.
lot of them bought the book.
A lot of people
read the
bought the
book,
book.
and then it also touches them just like Adis was touched. It hit a spot for and even though Adis was talking about the being raised by a Luo father, in that era, I don't even think it was even about that. It was just that one of Muweka kwa estate, kuna everybody, of course, either you lived in a court or mulikuwa mumeka kwa hao, kulikuwa na, okay, Buddha alikuwa nafanya kitu alikuwa nafanya, mom used to do what she used to do, you guys as the kids, you played in the estate, there's certain things that were done, and then for her, in this book, it's a single father who's doing those roles that both parents would do.
Right.
And so that's the part that but all the stories around that and the things that she went through, a lot of people who grew up in the States and around that era went through. Though there's some other things that are added in, because sasa mzee alikuwa mzee wa happy, so pia yakaenda akaingilia. Kuna saa zingine hata munaenda kama watoto wote wa hao watu, mko kwa gari nao wanaenda happy, munapelekwa kama mtu moja nao wameenda happy. So those stories, and there's a lot of kids from that era who can speak to that and say, yeah, we used to go to this is here. We knew our paros were going to whatever, Omega 1, Fankatek, those sorts of things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very, very interesting that Adis has this take on it. And me, I can say, as being raised in that era of 70s, 80s, Hapo, it was a very, very interesting time to grow up in Kenya, because Kenya was, even though we had M1 in power and we considered him, I guess, at some point dictatorial, it wasn't as bad because money was flowing. People had jobs.
The economy was still good.
The population was not, there was not that many people, so and middle class was a true real middle class.
Yeah.
Now it's like, it's fleeting. You know, it's like either you have
or you don't.
have. Ile in between Nika, it's like it's really not even there. It's like basically you're at the point where you have.
Yeah.
So you're not even middle class. We umeomoka. You know, and then the other right now it's like kuna wale hawana. You know, and they live across the river. And this is somebody who lived in Eastlands. So it's not like somebody who was living, you know, up markets or who was, you know, and it was an estate in Eastlands, you know, which that's where the common Mwananchi lived anyway.
But remember, at that time, Eastlands, like Umoja, I think was still a fairly new estate.
Correct. Yes.
And it was a very decent place
it sure
to live
was.
in.
It sure was.
Buruburu
Yeah.
was now where, you know, like the uncle lived, was now a level higher
Yes.
than Umoja.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Isili. And when I explain to people, like, growing up in the 80s in Isili, it was a really nice place. Like, it was really nice. Like,
Even no more.
yeah. Like, we used to hear, you know, some of the kids we went to school with used to live in Buru. Buru to us was like, wow.
That's another world.
yeah.
It's another.